It is the fifth model introduced in the Digimon collaboration series and the second one introduced in the 2024 rerun, sporting that likeness of that of the nefarious Apocalymon. It is DGM04, Apocaly TheEnd, with a mostly new kit of Deathlock, Level Drain, Minus Chain, Float Legs, and the leg ability of Pick On, which is a brand new leg ability that buffs all leg stats, minus armor and heavy limit, for every debuff the user applies successfully. Now, as another model introduced in the 2024 run of the Digimon collaboration, this is most certainly another model that players have been looking forward to and even imagining for a very, very long time. And who better to select than that of the nefarious ultimate big bad of the Digimon Adventure series as a whole, than Apocalymon himself. And when it comes to the world of Robattle, is definitely the new master and new owner of the title, the Plague Doctor. The head part is a Deathlock on the head part is an ailment type skill that, upon successfully inflicting the ailment on the target, will inflict a no dodge and a no defense status on the poor target in question, guaranteeing that every hit will land, and every hit additionally will be a critical hit on top of that. But on top of that, it'll also inflict a 25% heat and cool debuff to that particular enemy, which means they will also be going notably slower as long as that negative ailment remains in effect. This can make it very good for guaranteeing that even your very low success skills or your very blind attacks, such as, say, a very high power Ghost or Ghost Shot, or even Max Shot or Beam Sword or anything else of the like that has a very low success, this means that you can still capitalize on the high damage they usually comp for it and guarantee it's going to be as immensely painful as possible and make it a whole lot easier to land hits and basically free crits on top of that. Level Drain on the right arm is a skill that we have not seen for quite some time now, but still can be very deadly all the same. Basically, it is an ailment skill that instead of attacking an enemy's armor or their stats or anything else of the like, Level Drain instead directly attacks the metal. And that is immensely devastating, because if it directly attacks the metal and debuffs its level masteries, this means that, say that level 100 on your shooting stat is now at a 90 or even lower than that, and means you're not going to be as nearly efficient as you were at it before, which means your damage is going to be lower, your success, and all of your other stats will be notably lower as well, making this a very dangerous stat that you want to make sure stays protected at basically all times. In comparison to, say, Virus or Flame or Melt or anything else of the like that can be relatively easily overcome with time, Level Drain is one you want to make sure you stay careful of. Minus Chain on the left arm is a brand new skill being introduced into the game, and putting it simply, it's basically a new inverse on Anti-Effect, which was simply damage plus for every buff applied to the target. Minus Chain instead checks for debuffs on the target. Basically, for every debuff it attacks a target and checks for, that is a times 1.5 of the bonus of your initial base damage that you will be dealing to that target. And since debuffs or any symptoms in particular can stack up to 4, guess what? That is a maximum of a times 7 damage bonus that you can capitalize on just by slapping as many negative ailments on the enemy as you can. And before you start picking at me and saying, but Kura, using ailments is not a good idea because they don't attack very hard and Stat Cleanse can remove them. Well, you're correct. Stat Cleanse is still something you need to remain very careful of when using ailments, but actually inflicting ailments is really not all that hard. Between Deathlock or even, say, other ones such as Flash, Virus, Bug, Freeze, Thunder, or anything Wave or Hold or anything else of the like as examples, anything that's a negative ailment will stack, and for every negative ailment that you can stack on that target, Minus Chain will wreak absolute havoc on them just because he is the new king, kaiser, and emperor that is the Plague Master. Float Legs means that Apocaly TheEnd will have very solid coverage across most terrains at A rank across the board, minus the S rank on Cyber, of course, and his stats are actually not too shabby as well either. While he is still packing a very nice base mobility at 954, the rest of his stats are actually not all that shabby either, and not obscenely broken or powerful like a lot of boss or collab models tend to be. A base mobility of 954, like I said, means it's a very solid base mobility and a good speed to start him off on the right foot, or lack thereof in his case. An evade of 1127 is really nice as well, as it means that he has a pretty solid time dodging or grazing incoming attacks pretty consistently. But a melee resist of 1088 and a shoot resist of 883 does mean he's a little susceptible to punish from up close and personal, or from afar. So even though he can be absolutely catastrophic on the field for all the ailments that he can inflict and punish for, a good hit in the right place will cut him down to size pretty quick. All this being said though, as a pure set score, I still do have to rate him a pretty well-rounded 8 out of 10 for a very synergetic model. His armor is also very nice too, at about 4200 for the head, about 3900 per arm, and just almost 4100 for the legs, so relatively healthy HP pool there as well. But Apocaly TheEnd also is quite synergetic unto himself, despite what people might think or expect at first glance. Deathlock and Level Drain are both actually negative ailments, just as a friendly reminder. So that means right there between those two inflicted on an enemy alone, that means Minus Chain will get basically a free ×3 damage bonus at any given point, as long as he can use both of those and inflict them on the targets first before using Minus Chain. Additionally, for every ailment that he can successfully inflict on a target, he also gets an all leg stat boost as well, whether it means he uses Minus Chain or not. So basically, if he uses Deathlock 3 times and successfully inflicts it 3 times, that is 3 progressive stat boosts that he can benefit on to make him faster, dodgier, and just a little bit more resistant to damage the longer the fight drags on. So he's a very synergetic model that can inflict ailments and then also punish for them, just for what he was able to inflict without any outside assistance necessary. As mixed parts, I do have to rate him equally at an 8 out of 10 for these same reasons. His legs may be a little niche and very specific to ailment fighters specifically, but if done right, even if you decide to take Minus Chain out of the equation and use some other kind of ailment, again, Flame, Virus, Hold, Thunder, Freeze, or anything else of the like, every time you inflict one, the first 5 stacks, that's 5 free stacks of leg stat bonuses that you get to benefit on at any given time. And while Level Drain may not be something you see super terribly often, if at all, it's still a very dangerous ailment all the same. Deathlock, I really don't have to say why it's nasty, especially given that it's non-heavy in that. The only real concern for Apocaly TheEnd, really, is the fact that his success stats do kind of camp around the 1000 stat cutoff, which is nice to consider in the long run, and he'll have a pretty good time inflicting them pretty decently. But for someone that is particularly dodgy or has a high evade stat, might cause him just a little bit more of a headache.